I don't even want to mention how much I was making a week, but let's just say it wasn't a lot.
I
And
mean, for transparency, do it, and then if anything, we cut it out.
all right, so I'm gonna keep it a buck. I made $27 a week.
All right, Purpose Vision Podcast. We back. Drew,
TJ.
and yeah, today's conversation is an interesting one because I think it's
Mhm.
one that we've heard a lot, but we all need reminders about it, right? And it's this idea of like, don't quit because your story is not finished.
Mhm.
And even when the situation feels incredibly difficult, there's definitely number one light at the end of the tunnel, but then also there's a bunch of learnings
Mhm.
from each of those individual situations that you haven't yet realized, and you won't realize it yet because hindsight is 2020,
2020.
like we talked about in the last episode. So I think for today's conversation, like that's the theme, right? Or that's the big picture theme. But I really want to go into TJ's story to kind of highlight that theme. Or I want to go into your story so that we have like a specific example
Mhm.
of some experiences that you've gone through
Mhm.
where you didn't quit, and how much you learned from those experiences.
For those of you that have seen one of the previous episodes where I talked a little bit about my early childhood, hindsight 2020,
Yeah,
check it out when you get a
yeah,
chance.
right.
Link down low in the description. Today, I'm gonna share a little bit about what happened after I left to come back to the United States. And there were multiple things that could have made me give up. Looking back in hindsight,
Hmm.
in a lot of these moments, if I actually quit, I would not be where I'm at today. I moved back to the US,
Yeah,
right? Let's start there. I moved back to the US
from
from Trinidad and Tobago. I was living in Tobago. My house burnt down from a fire. Full story, check out that episode,
yeah,
Hindsight 2020.
back personally.
So now I moved back to the United States. I'm going into middle school. It's a big transition.
Yeah.
Different culture. I got an accent. The way you dress. There's snow on the
And
ground.
by the way, the way you dress, that was especially
That was
important in New York.
if your sneakers ain't right, if
Yeah.
your fit not right, you're getting tortured, especially in middle school, high school, it's over.
Or
So anyway, I had that moment of realizing that this is somewhere different, and that culture shock, honestly, was hard. I remember going home multiple times, just depressed, angry, frustrated, didn't want to go to school, got made fun of based on how I dressed, the way I spoke, and it was a hard, hard time. Between seventh and eighth grade,
hmm
I had to learn how to adjust and adapt because honestly, I just felt like I was on an island. My older brother at the time, he was in high school, so it was a little bit different because in high school, you had a lot of people coming from other countries in the Caribbean. So whether it's Jamaica, Haiti,
yeah,
because at that age they're coming here, going right into high school. I ended up going into middle school.
yeah,
Even now, looking back, there were so many moments where I just felt like I can't do this. I don't want to do this. You know, kids are mean. I don't know who to identify with. I'm just out of place. You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? And it put me in a real, real dark place. And it wasn't just the only thing that I had to deal with. The other reality I hit in is
But
the
before
no,
really
go ahead.
quickly before we go into that second reality, like how did you continue to push through? Like what did you actually do
So
in the moment to
yeah,
keep going?
if you guys know the story with the fire and kind of all the things that transpired, this was another one of those moments where I had to remind myself that there's a reason why I'm here,
Yeah,
and I just gotta stick it out. I
yeah,
gotta stick it out because too many things happened for me to get to this point for me to just give up.
yeah,
Moving forward from that now, and not even moving forward, I have this one obstacle or hurdle or struggle, right?
hmm
Then we're gonna add on to that where the financial piece. So when we moved back to the US, I was the citizen,
hmm
but my mom, my brother, they weren't.
yeah,
So getting things like a big job, corporate job, making tons of money, that wasn't even a reality. So I watched my mom struggle. We obviously couldn't get the flyest fit, the flyest sneakers. We can travel a lot and do a lot of stuff. We did the best that we could at the time.
Yeah.
But even that financial hardship is real hard when you're seeing all your friends doing simple things like go to McDonald's
Mm-hmm.
and you can't even do that. You know what I'm saying? The
Yeah.
dollar menu was a luxury.
A luxury.
And even with that, I remember there was a time where we were out and about moving around and we went to McDonald's and this was like the norm.
Yeah.
Just to give you a picture of like what financially we had to deal with. My mom would order one meal, right? And most times she would it was like a 2 cheeseburger meal. They still have it,
Mm-hmm.
I think. But it was the 2 cheeseburger meal and she'll get a large. And then she would ask for 2 of the small cups, like that you can
Yeah,
get water with,
cups, yeah.
right? And then just some napkins. And literally she would take that 2 cheeseburger meal and it's like, all right, split the fries, split the drink. And with the cheeseburger, sometimes she would just give it to me and my brother, and sometimes she wouldn't eat. And then other times, we would just, divvy it up differently. And that was normal.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Ordering Chinese food, that was a luxury.
Right.
Don't even mention going out to eat at dinner. Non-existent, not even a thing. Christmas, holidays coming up. My mom did her best and always made it meaningful.
Yeah.
But even through that, we had to learn like money's just not always going to be available, and we gotta make do.
I mean, I know you can't speak for your mom, but what do you think it was that kept her going? Like, what do you think her reason was for not quitting? Was it, you think it was just like her kids or wanting a better opportunity, or like what you think? What you think?
Her faith in
Mm-hmm.
God and trusting that, all right, He's not gonna allow us to not be able to make it. But then also, she's a parent, right?
Yeah, so
You got your
especially
kids. It's like I gotta do what I gotta do to make sure my kids are okay.
yeah.
To add on to that, now I was lucky enough to get a job, and it wasn't the best job. I'm super grateful and thankful for that job that I got, but it wasn't exactly something that was going to start paying all the bills.
Yeah.
Right. I don't even want to mention how much I was making a week, but let's just say it wasn't a lot. And
I mean, for transparency, do it, and then if anything, we cut it out.
all right, so I'm gonna keep it a buck. I made $27 a week. And, the later the time, I'm still connected with her. We still speak. I knew she gave me that job as an opportunity for me to, earn a little extra money, but it's not like she was rolling in dough. She had a daycare. Probably didn't need another person, but, just wanted
Just
to,
held it down.
offer me something.
Yeah.
So I am super grateful for that. But even in that, right, we got these financial struggles. I got a job, but it's not like, I can start buying Jordans and Nikes.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I also wanted to try to help my mom as best as I could. Now, my mom, out of that $27 a week, always was big on saving. Out of that $27, she was like, give me $10 out of that. Then on top of that, because we believe in tithing, you got to give 10% to God of everything you make.
Yeah.
So you got $27, and I'm not going to round down. I got to round up. So that's $3.
$3
right?
to the church.
Then I gotta give my mom $10.
Yeah.
So now it's like, all right, what am I really gonna do here? I was able to learn humility.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was extremely big because as I look at my life now, I've never ever had a mindset of I'm too good for this.
Mm-hmm.
This job isn't good enough for me.
Yeah.
And in addition, I've never ever looked at another person based off of how much they were making or where they worked and looked down on them like I was better than them.
Yeah.
And I think all of that stems from me having those true humble beginnings, which some people don't even know about. And
I didn't know about that.
right? And, my journey from those humble beginnings to where I'm at now, appreciating that process. Here's where things gets real interesting. My religious awakening moment when we moved back to the US, one of the big things that within our family, myself, my mom, my brother, we honestly believed in our heart that God opened up the door for us to be here. However it happened, He opened up for us to be here.
Yeah.
And now we're here, and I'm looking at financial struggles. I'm looking at cultural type of trying to adapt and adjust and make friends. I'm looking at The fact that, okay, I have a job, I'm making a little bit of money, but my mom, she's
Finances
in
not
it.
being
So, you know
there.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm looking at all these things and I'm like, this is hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a teenager. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not a grown man with a family and kids where it's like, all right, you know, I got to do what I got to do. I'm a teenager. And I was also in a position where I'm a citizen, my mom isn't, my brother isn't. So if anybody can do something technically legally, it's me. But then I can't.
Yeah.
I'm starting to question things. I'm going to a church. I was involved in the band. Many people don't know. I am a musician. My brother and I, we started playing music at the age of 4 years old. Probably didn't know that.
Yeah. I
Um,
knew you were playing. I didn't know it was 4 years
yeah,
old.
so 4 years old, my brother started, and I started at 4 years old. We both started with the piano. He stayed with the piano. And I branched off, you know, I did piano, I did drums, I did guitar, I did a little bit of trumpet, not too much, did saxophone. At this church we were going to at the time, we were really, really involved in like the music department. So we had like a junior band, which was like the younger guys. We had a band, and then there was like the senior band.
Mm-hmm.
And we did competitions, we traveled across the country. We were actually pretty good. But then I started to see some things happening even in that church. And by no means am I trying to knock church at all. That's not the intention.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to be real with my story
Yeah.
and this obstacle that I had to overcome.
Which, by the way, a lot of people go through too,
Yeah.
right? Like, because I know me personally,
Mm-hmm.
right around teenage years. Because the thing is, you grow up on faith,
Right.
and you grow up believing. You subscribe to everything your
Parents
parents
tell you.
tells you,
Yeah.
and then you go through this stage where you might be like questioning certain things, and so
Mm-hmm.
you ask your mom questions, your dad
Mm-hmm.
questions. Maybe you're doing your own research, and then there might be like some kind of disconnect. Or in your case, it was like life situations
Mm-hmm.
doesn't seem to be in your favor. So
Mm-hmm.
then you like, how could God be on my side?
Right.
You know
Right.
what I mean? Not realizing that God is telling you, keep going, don't quit,
Yeah.
because there's lessons that you're going to learn.
Exactly.
So I think, yeah, it's definitely a common thing that like a lot of people go through, but your situation is even more layered coming from an island to the
Mm-hmm.
States,
Yeah.
that harsh transition.
Yeah. And I mean, even to that point, we're heavy involved in the church. And then certain things started to raise some red flags.
Mm-hmm.
One example being open and transparent, we played as musicians. And in today's age,
Yeah.
you go to any church, musicians getting paid. And at the time, obviously finances was, a challenge for us. Myself and my brother, we didn't even have the mindset of greed, nor like the other guys that were with us.
Mm-hmm.
On a typical Sunday, when we had to play, there were 2 services in the morning and one in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
Most times, if we're on the schedule, we have to play both services, sometimes the third, right? So you're basically in church all day on a Sunday, from like real early to evening.
Okay.
Now, between the first 2 services, we would, go get breakfast. We had like maybe a 30, 40-minute window. Sometimes go to the corner store, sometimes go to McDonald's, etc. Now, obviously, myself and my brother, we don't got money like that. So maybe one of our friends might order something. It's like, hey, you want a little extra or something like that. Maybe someone that was in the first service might say like, hey, you guys, here's a couple of dollars, go get breakfast.
Yeah.
But then we came together and we said, you know what? There's a breakfast that they do for visitors that come in from the first service or the second service. So one day we decided, why not ask like, hey, there's breakfast and stuff already. Can we just have that? Like, we're not asking for a salary, but at the very least, like, we here all day,
Yeah.
kids, we're not working.
Right.
Can we get some breakfast?
Yeah.
You know what I'm
A
saying?
reasonable act.
Reasonable ask, right? The answer was no. So then it's like, what?
Yeah.
We're here on Saturdays for rehearsal. We're here on Sunday for how many hours? And asking for breakfast that's already there, we're getting to know?
Yeah.
Interesting. Then you start to look at certain things happening around like the church, right? You see certain people in certain positions making certain decisions. And now there's a lot of question marks because now you're starting to look at, well, you're preaching this,
Mm-hmm.
but you're doing this.
Yeah.
The math not mathing anymore.
Right.
So now we start challenging stuff more because now we're getting older. We have a brain of our own. So now we start speaking up.
Yeah.
And as we speak up, there's an answer and an excuse. but nothing really made sense. You're saying things like you should bless others and, the church should be a place where people can come in and have their needs met. But we're playing on a Sunday and you're telling us you can't even give us breakfast. Make it make sense. And then we're getting answers like, well, you're doing it for the Lord, not for the money. And then we're like, well, we're not asking for money. We're just asking to eat some of the breakfast that's already there.
I just need a bagel.
Yeah, like, and that's the thing. Fast forward now, too many things were not making sense. I then started to question certain things, and I'm not even gonna lie, like, and even for my boys that was in the band and that might see this, a lot of us, we just started to like, you know what, we're just over it. Like, you know what I'm saying? We're not like we don't believe in God anymore, but things are not what we thought it was. And as we got older, it became more and more evident.
Okay.
Now I had to test what I believe because you have people in a church that you're going to doing things and operating in a way and telling you to believe one thing, but then what you're seeing is something completely different.
Yeah, but then they show up differently.
And then they show up differently, right? Yeah. That's happening now. So the church doesn't seem as appealing anymore. But then I'm growing up in Brooklyn. I found more realness from people outside of church than in the church. Shout out to my boys from Green Avenue that I came up with. I found more community there than I did in the church. Which is crazy. But then now you have all these influences. You got gangs, you got all this type of stuff. And one thing that I do appreciate, and shout out to all my dudes from back in the day, they saw there was something different about me and they never try to pull me into stuff that they knew wasn't for me.
Yeah.
And for me, that was real powerful because then it allowed me to see that human element of people outside of just, well, you're a church boy, you're a Christian or whatever.
Yeah.
And it also allowed me to be able to connect with people on a different level because now I don't treat you based off of where you're from or who your mom or dad is or where you go to school or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm able to now see like there are genuine people out there and that's just who they are. You know what I'm saying? And I can treat people as who they are.
Yeah. I would go so far. I mean, you got people who might know they're sinning, but they're conscious enough to say, yo, I know that's not something that you into. When we hear and and we keeping it cordial and we keeping it casual, okay, like, we can hang out, but when we're going to do our thing, like, you're not coming to do that, So I would even argue like that's God showing up through them. You know what I mean? Because they're young too. I'm assuming. You said you were a teenager.
Some of my age, a couple of years older, but yeah,
a couple of years older. But even then, it's like in that state of mind of like trying to do anything for $1. You don't then have the wisdom to say like, oh, let me not invite this person to come get involved in certain things that they shouldn't be involved in. So I feel like that's a blessing and a unique experience too, in and of itself.
Nah, for sure, for sure. Another point that I want to highlight is that their character at that time and exactly what you said, because they didn't have to go to church to know right from wrong when it came to certain things. Now, granted, some of the things that they did wasn't exactly right.
Yeah.
But
neither was the people in the church.
That's the thing. And then that's why for me, I then had to start realizing, I'm like, yo, it's really not about the routine of coming into a building on a Sunday that makes you any different. Who you are after you leave, and sometimes even when you're there, that's actually what matters.
Yeah.
And that's where it became a little bit of a tussle for me because now I'm questioning the validity of the things that people are saying to me in the church because I'm like, yo, is this even real? Y'all preaching this, everybody like on this bandwagon, but I'm like, yo, is this all made up? Like, is this all thing? And like I said, I questioned a lot of things. I pushed back on a lot of things. But I think in that moment, in combination with the relationships that I had outside of church, I was able to have a different frame of mind where it's like, okay, I can't just say I'm a Christian because people tell me that I am, or well, just do this because they said so. I now had to figure out my own faith journey and what that looks like. And then for people outside, I now don't have that blinder on where it's like, I'm going to judge you, like I'm better than you, or,
Right.
oh, you know, this, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think the final piece that I'm going to touch on is the separation with my parents.
Mm-hmm.
When we moved back to the US, I'm young. I'm 11, 12, not really understanding that family dynamic of like mom and dad not being together.
Yeah.
It was just more so we're here, he's there. To be honest, it was such a tough time that I didn't realize until it became real tough. Things like my birthday. I would call my dad to say, "Hey dad, it's my birthday." Just to hear him say happy birthday. His birthday, I would call him. Christmas, call him. Any occasion and events, call him. Any updates, and call him. I remember there was a Father's Day and I was at church. I don't know if it just all hit me at the same time, but I broke down, bro.
Mm.
Like I broke down. Like panic attack, hyperventilating, crying.
Did you
And
had did you just find something out, or like what was
nah,
the trigger?
so that Sunday, it was like I said, it was a Father's Day, and I think something just like take me off. But the moment I think everything hit me where it's like, okay, this is BS that I'm dealing with right now. And I'm like, yo, it's Father's Day. Yo, my dad not even here. And I'm
Mm.
like, yo, this man don't even call me when it's my birthday. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
And as a child, you have all these emotions overwhelming you. You don't even know how to process. So I broke down, man.
Mm-hmm.
And some of my friends that were there, it's like they didn't even know like how to react because I ain't gonna lie, like I was just spazzing, bro,
Yeah.
because I was just broken. I was hurt. When I started to really think about what was going on, I went from a place of I always knew mom and dad together,
Together. Yeah.
and now they're not, but we're in another country. He's not here. And then I'm hearing stories of things happening with him, and I'm hearing stories of things that he used to do. Now it's like,
It's all.
this sucks.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then as a young man, especially, when you're trying to find yourself, you're in your teenage years, this is a critical age. You're looking to role models. You're looking to people to kind of like help you figure out this manhood thing
Right.
where a mom can't do it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you can go to other people's parents, but they're not yours.
Right.
So now I'm in this weird space where I got to kind of just figure it out. And I had an older brother, but he's 2 years older than me. So he's not a grown man either.
Yeah. It's like y'all low key at the same stage.
We're low key in a very similar stage, and we're kind of at the mercy of
Like the blind leading the blind.
right. So he's trying to find his way. I'm trying to find my way. I'm not gonna lie. The separation put me in a state of I gotta figure it out on my own.
Mm.
And there were different father figures that came into my life. There was one, he was a mentor, loved him dearly. He was like a big brother slash father figure, but unfortunately he passed away.
Mm.
So
Where'd you meet him?
at the same church I was
Oh,
going
the
to,
church.
that was the first because of him, it's the first time I rode in a limo. The first time I had a pair of Timberland boots in the winter before I
Yeah.
was wearing like the Payless joints and you know what I mean, the joint with no logo.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Legit. But with him, like he played such a beautiful role in my life because he was able to help me get access to things that I probably couldn't have
Yeah.
unless someone stepped up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing I want to honor his memory. Naam Charles, I love you always, man. But
Rest in
that
peace.
that man right there was like the first real father figure outside of my dad that really stepped up in my life and really made me feel like, yeah, like somebody's really looking out for me as
Yeah.
like an adult
As an
father
adult.
figure.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, when he passed, I didn't have it anymore.
Right.
And this is all during teenage years.
All during teenage years. I love that you bring that story up though, because I think the important takeaway is that like even though you followed this message of not quitting and keep
Mm-hmm.
going because your story isn't over, like through that, you still had vulnerable moments, right? You
Yeah,
still had moments where you broke down, but it's
yeah,
about like picking yourself up and keep going
yeah,
because it's like at the end of the tunnel. So I
yeah,
guess my question to you is like, how, like, what was that one thing that allowed you to keep
yeah.
going, right? Like, how did you, despite going through struggle after struggle after struggle, trying to make sense of everything. having a father figure, but then losing your father. But like,
Mm-hmm.
how did you actually keep going and actually live this theme that we're talking about?
I'd say having a village. And the term, it takes a village to raise a child, is so true because through all these moments, moving to the US, junior high, high school, financial struggles, the first job that I got, not making that much money, but a little something to kind of help out. The stuff that I had to deal with church and, even with the band and the friends that I made in the streets and, in the neighborhoods. And then also with the divorce, with my mom and my dad, I had a village. And if there's anything that I would say to someone that might be in the middle of one of these about to give up moments,
Yeah.
find your village.
Mm.
Because even when I didn't realize I had a village, I did.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the village might not, the people in your village, you might not even recognize that are there.
Yeah.
So throughout all these moments, people stepped up that were part of my village. And because I was able to embrace that support and embrace my village,
Mm-hmm.
I was able to also get through in addition to like my own desire to get through. That first job, someone had to give it to me. That mentor that I had, right? He had to want to step into that role. Those friends from the neighborhood, they protected me in some cases. Like there were some times where people was coming for me and like they literally had my back. Even with the church, yeah, there was a lot of stuff going on, but that junior band, those are still my brothers to this day. You know what I'm saying? We've been through stuff then and we still go through stuff now. And even through the financial struggles, a lot of times it was my mom, my brother, and me. But guess what? My mom, my brother, and me.
Yeah.
Right? I wasn't going through it by myself. Find your village. And if you don't have a village, I will challenge, that statement because wherever you are now, you did not get there on your own.
On your own, your village, but also you had to show up too. Because if you
Yeah,
were just, you know, completely disobedient, then that person wouldn't have given you that job. Or if you
that
were
is true.
super closed off, Muhammad Charles,
Yeah,
he wouldn't have poured into you. You know what
right.
I'm saying?
That's a fact.
So showing up doesn't mean you're perfect, but
Hmm.
they could just tell that like you were trying to do something, make
Yeah.
something of yourself. You know what I mean? You met them somewhere and then they took it from there. So it's like it's a village, but it's also like showing up.
You can only have a village if you're a part of it.
Hmm.
So it's not, well, the village is there and I'm here.
Yeah.
The reason it's your village is because you're part of that community. You're part of that family. You're part of that camaraderie. You're part of that support system. These individuals that were part of my village is because I showed up for my village as well in
Hmm.
my own way. And sometimes showing up might be being vulnerable.
Yeah.
So your village knows how they can support you.
Yeah.
Sometimes showing up might be raising a hand and, volunteering to help someone else, paying it forward. That village, man.
Yeah.
Like I think that's the best answer I got.
Yeah.
It's the best answer I
That's a
got.
powerful story. I definitely learned through those experiences.
I feel like every
It's,
time we have these sit down sessions, you're like learning new stuff about me.
yeah, but I mean that's what it's about. And then there's always takeaways. So definitely don't quit. Keep going. Story's not over. Light at the end of the tunnel. Find your village, which you just defined. Village assumes you have to be a part of that community as
Exactly.
well. You can't want somebody to show up for you, but then you're not showing up for other people. And showing up doesn't mean, you're 100% perfect every single day.
Hmm.
But it means that, you're just trying to put one foot in front of the other. And yeah, with that, man, that's another episode.
That's a wrap. That's a wrap. That's a wrap.
Yes, sir.
Purpose Vision. Live life with intention and purpose. We'll see you next time. Like, subscribe, share. If there's anything you have questions about that we discussed, drop it in the comments. We'll see you soon.
Peace.